Happy Friday! Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Today's video is going to be a collaboration with Moss Family TV. This is our first Fall Food Friday video of the year. This is an open group collaboration, so if that sounds like something that you're interested in doing as well on your channel, she has details in most of her recent videos. Basically, all you have to do is just film whatever fall recipe that you enjoy. You upload it, go to her video on that Friday, and then comment on the video and let her know that you uploaded it, and then she will add it to a group playlist. This is something I believe she said we're doing every other Friday in September and October. So if you've missed this week, you still have plenty more time to get something together for the next time. I'm going to be making a chicken tortilla soup, but it's a really easy recipe. It's like a dump and go recipe. This could be put in a crock pot, stovetop, even an Instant Pot. I don't personally use an Instant Pot. I don't have one, but I think I have seen a lot of people do a lot of these types of recipes in them. But I'm actually going to do mine stovetop today just because it's so late in the day. Right now, my daughter went down late for her nap, so I'm getting a little bit of a late start. So I am going to do that stovetop for this time, but in the future, I'll probably just put it in the crock pot. And then the most exciting thing for me anyways is I will be making a, I guess like, it's my own recipe I come up with basically based off of another recipe, but it's a pumpkin pecan cake with like a brown butter frosting, cinnamon brown butter glaze frosting. And also, as promised in my last vlog, I'm going to do just a quick little, I don't want to say a tour. I feel like that's for like a big house, and I mean, we're in a small mobile home. But just a quick little reveal or overview of our kitchen from all the decor I put out. So I'm just going to give a quick little tour of this, and then we will jump right into our two recipes and get that going. Because if I don't get that started, we're going to be eating dinner in the dark. So walking into our kitchen, everything looks so clean. I love the way everything turned out. I will just go ahead and say that I don't have a specific theme going on. This is the paper that I put up in my last vlog. I said I would give a good overview where you could see it. I think it really makes the space look more modern, and it actually pulled a lot of light into the area. I apologize for the lighting, by the way. This window brings in so much light that it dims it anytime I point my camera this way. And then I have a little pumpkin on a pedestal, a little home cut out. This is my butter dish behind there, and I just thought it kind of like hid it a little bit. And then a pink glazed looking pumpkin. The last decorative space, I just put some fall picks in there. And just for a different view, this is what the kitchen looks like from over here. So I'm very limited on counter space, so I try not to do a lot with this area. And then we still have the fall palooza, as I like to call it, going on over here. So while I was chopping my red onion up, I just had approximately 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter melting in a pan. So now that I have chopped my onions up, I'm just going to add them to the pan and let them start to brown while I get the rest of the ingredients prepared. So I'm having a hard time working with angles here. So one quick thing that I did just want to mention is for this recipe and pretty much any recipe that involves shredded chicken, I almost never just like boil chicken and shred it. I have a freezer bag in my freezer that anytime we have any leftover chicken from a meal, like maybe if I made like baked chicken breast or I was using it in a pasta or something like that and we had any kind of leftover chicken, what I do is at the end of the week or, you know, whenever we're done eating that meal, whatever's left over, I shred up and I add to that bag. So pretty much anything that I cook, the flavors of whatever chicken that is, it's fine. Like if there's a sauce or there's a gravy on it and it's not just like a basic, you know, salt and pepper type taste, I usually just put it in like a strainer and then I rinse that sauce off and then I shred it up and throw it in that bag. And honestly, that doing it that way makes the best soups, the best enchiladas, quesadillas, anything that you can make with shredded chicken to me is way better that way. And chicken spaghetti, that is another thing we love doing that way. So this bowl right here has shredded chicken in it, and this is just from earlier in the week. I made some chicken and gravy, and then I had one leftover breast I did actually boil, but I left a little bit of the gravy on because I figured it would be good. So this is left over from this week, and I just saved it, shredded it up in a bowl, and now I'm using it in this recipe. So that is a tip if you want to add some more homemade type flavor to it. This makes things so much better. You wouldn't think it makes that big of a difference, but it really does. So I've got my red onion browning on the stove, and you can use any onion. I just thought the red would add a little color to the soup, and I had one that I needed to use. So what I'm going to do is start opening my beans up, and this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I already sterilized my sink, so don't judge me for sitting it in the sink. So what I like to do is put my strainer in the sink, and then for any of the beans or also this is the Great Value brand, but the Rotel tomatoes that you cook with, I always drain them. The Rotel or the tomatoes, they're not really that big of a deal, but with the beans, as you can see, it's a very thick, I don't really know the word. It's not a broth. I really think it's just the water that they add to it and the proteins and stuff in the beans like add to it and thicken it up. But when I cook with things like this, I like to just go ahead and rinse it off, because especially the black beans, if you don't, it's gonna make your soup or whatever you're cooking with, it's gonna make it really cloudy. Like you can see how dark it comes out. Some people like that. I mean, if that's your jam, go with it. But I personally just like to rinse it. It makes the flavors of everything else stand out more, because I feel like if you leave that in there, then all you taste is the bean taste, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. So I used 1 can of the white kidney cannellini beans and 1 can of the no salt added black beans. That's another thing. If you can get any of your canned vegetables with the no salt added option, that is so much better, because obviously you're avoiding the sodium, which is better for you, but then you're able to flavor your food with seasonings and spices that are salty on their own. So like I like to cook with a lot of chicken bouillon and things like that, and that in itself is salty. So if you add regular salt, then it's usually overpowering and you really can't do that. So that's just another thing that I like to do. So I have my pot that I'm going to cook in. My onions are still browning, and I'm just going to get this portion of it simmering. So I'm going to pour both of the beans in the pot. And then I have used regular corn, but I decided to use cream corn just because I wanted it to be a little bit, I don't know if thicker is the word, maybe like creamier. I hate that word. I don't want to say that. And I am going to be adding a little bit of water to the pot anyways, so I always rinse my can and make sure that I get all of the product, the vegetable out, get your money's worth. And then this is the Great Value. This is the Great Value Rotel. It's just the mild diced tomatoes with green chilies. And again, this does not have to be followed exact. This is to taste. You can substitute things or you can take away things. You could really honestly put any kind of bean in this. You could really put even like peas in it if you wanted to. We're not big on peas. My husband is the pickiest eater I have ever met, so like even eating this, he likes the flavor of things, but when he's done, his bowl will have tons of little pieces of tomatoes sitting there because he's not going to eat that. And then I'm going to go ahead and let y'all see what it looks like in the pot, but just to show what else I'm using first, I'm also going to use a can of the Old El Paso green chili enchilada sauce, the mild. You can use any enchilada sauce. You can even use a red enchilada sauce. I don't really care for red as much. I really like the green, and the green goes better with chicken to me. The red's more like a beef taste. That's also another thing you could do. If you did not want to use shredded chicken, you could use ground beef in here. You could even use like little cuts of beef. That would also work. And then you could change the enchilada sauce for the red sauce. It's really just to your taste. And then this is the Campbell's Fiesta Nacho Cheese Soup. I just keep a few soups on hand because they help thicken your meals up, and they just kind of add a different depth of flavor to it. And then just 1 can of chicken broth. This is just what I had on my grocery shelf.
And for the shredded chicken, I didn't measure, I just kind of eyeballed this. I think I probably used about maybe 1.5 cups or so of it. I only used about half of this bowl. And moving on to our spices, I also do not measure this. I just kind of do it to taste or just by sight. I'm just adding a little black pepper, a little bit of ground cumin, and I'm not really a big fan on cumin, so I don't use a lot. I know a lot of people like a lot of it when they're having like a Mexican type flavored dish. And then we always add garlic powder to almost everything that we eat. And then I've mentioned this in my previous vlogs, but I like to add just a little bit of liquid smoke to a lot of the food that I make. It just gives it kind of a grilled taste or brings out the flavor of the meat a little bit, but this is quite salty to me as it's used for marinades, so it takes maybe like 1/4 teaspoon or so, if that much. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add 2 cubes of this chicken bouillon. We did add the chicken broth earlier, but the bouillon just gives it a deeper flavor, and this is one of the reasons that I do not add salt to a lot of the things that I cook, because the bouillon itself is quite salty, so this is definitely enough for a dish. And then just put on your stove on low heat and give it a good stir and let it simmer. So this is the pan with our red onion in it. It is now browned, so I'm just going to add a few squeezes of this chopped or minced garlic in a jar. You could use fresh garlic or anything. This is just what I like to use. And this again is to taste. I probably used about 2 tablespoons or so. And I don't add my garlic until I turn the heat off, because if you burn it, it will give your food kind of a bitter taste. And once that's mixed together well, you just go ahead and add that into your pot with the rest of your ingredients, and then continue to simmer on low. I probably simmered this for about 2.5, maybe 3 hours or so, but since most of the ingredients are technically cooked, you're really just warming it up. But I feel like if you just give it a slow simmer, it just makes it taste better, and the flavor just comes together well. I also just realized how obnoxious I was this day trying to get this pan clean, but again, I get my money's worth out of my groceries, and we don't waste around here. You can kind of see the rug on the floor in front of my stove peeping through. I don't actually know what happened to the clip where I was showing the fall kitchen tour portion at the beginning of the video, but my sister actually got me this rug from Target for my birthday this year. She saw it in my Target Shop With Me vlog and saw that I said that I really liked it and wish I had it, so I absolutely love it in front of the stove, and I'll have to show it a little bit better later.
So while the soup is simmering on the stove, it's probably going to simmer 2 to 3 hours, as I figure about the time that my husband will get home and we will eat. I'm going to go ahead and get the rice cooked for it. I don't add the rice in while cooking it, because if you do, it's going to become really gelatinous. So I'm going to go ahead and get my rice going. And I cook my rice in the microwave, by the way. I don't use a rice cooker, don't use a pot, nothing. I have a big glass bowl. So I just pour about the amount that I think I'm going to need. And then enough water to just cover the top of the rice. And then I usually heat it for about 15 minutes. And then I check at about the 10-minute mark and fluff it with a fork. And then heat it again and then don't touch it. And then when the 15 minutes is up, I just let it sit in the microwave until it's time to eat. And usually it's perfect at that point.
So the rice that I'm actually using for this recipe is a wild rice blend. I'm not sure of the brand, and I just pour the amount that I think that we're going to need and then cover it with water and then put it in the microwave for 15 minutes or so. Actually, on this day, it did take about 2 minutes longer than that. Sometimes my microwave doesn't work that great. So because my kitchen's so small, I have to clean it up almost immediately. And then I realized that the reason I was having my lighting issues so much is that when this window is open, now my phone just makes everything have a really orange colored tone. So I did stir this about 3 or 4 times. Just because it's stovetop, it can get hot spots and scorch the bottom of your soup. It's not really necessary to do if it's in the crock pot though.
So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the cake. My daughter is awake and she's hungry, so I'm just going to hurry up and throw this in the pan. I'll post the recipe in the description. This actually started out, I made this as a banana cake and it is so good. So the banana recipe is phenomenal and I'm actually kind of experimenting. I'm substituting a few things to make this a pumpkin cake. So I already have my ingredients portioned, blah, 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 blah. Every video, y'all, every video. I already have my ingredients pre-portioned out. I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And then this is a very easy recipe. You literally are just going to dump everything in here and then put it in your pan. So we have our flour and then a cup of white sugar. And then pour that in there. And then I already have my 1 egg. And then I wrote a 1/4 cup of pecans. Really and truly, this is like to your taste. You could put more, you could put less, or you could do none at all. This is just kind of like the taste I'm going for. And then I have in here, this is melted butter. It is a 1/4 cup of melted butter, and I melted it on the stove in a skillet and then just poured it into here. It does need to be melted though. And then we have 1 teaspoon of white salt. I said white because, you know, some people use like pink Himalayan salt, but that sounds crazy to say white salt. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I made the mistake one time of adding, I had my recipe card written weird, and I was supposed to add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and I added 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So I was so scared when I put it in the oven once I realized what I'd done, but it actually came out okay. It was just slightly saltier than salt, so it wasn't bad. I thought it was going to be awful. And then 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. I do my vanilla to taste, like I know about how much I cook with. This is my teaspoon, so I'm just going to do 1 teaspoon instead of 1 tablespoon. Just because I don't want it to overpower the pumpkin flavor. And then 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm not going to measure the cinnamon just because I'm going to go ahead and put some in the glaze. And I don't want a ton of cinnamon in here. So literally y'all can see that was like a dash. We have all of our ingredients except for the pumpkin. So it calls for 1 cup of pumpkin, and I already have my can open. I have a 15-ounce can, so roughly a little more than half of the can, but I'm just going to go ahead and measure it since I don't want to mess this cake up. This is my birthday cake. And I'm really looking forward to this. And we also have some family members that we're going to be dropping some food off on their front porch for them. Of course, due to the big C word, we're just all being extra cautious. So I'm just kind of roughly packing this in here. Okay, so this is, yeah, this is 1 cup of pumpkin. Okay, so I've got all my ingredients in my bowl. Tried to keep my workspace clear. I feel like I forgot something, but this is the recipe, so let's hope I didn't forget anything. If y'all haven't noticed, I'm left-handed. Everything looks backwards that I do to my husband. So just by looking at it, again, this is from a banana cake recipe. So bananas have way more water than pumpkin does to me. I know they say like the water content in a pumpkin is higher than a banana, I believe. But I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of milk to this because it looks too dry. So I'm just going to start with about half a cup, maybe a third of a cup, yeah. And see how that looks. I've already got my oven preheated to 350 and it's ready to go. It's just waiting on the cake and I'm making a mess trying to hurry up. So this did help it some, but I'm still going to add a little bit more. So I'm thinking half a cup of milk because that was a third and now I'm adding just a tiny bit more. So I will have the actual corrected recipe card at the end of the clip. Yeah, this looks so much better. I think this is going to come out good. I'm hoping this comes out good because if it doesn't, I'm going to be mad and making another pumpkin dessert. So the recipe actually calls for an 8x8 baking dish, but I wanted to use my bundt pan. So I did already grease my pan. I just used some vegetable oil. I guess you could really use anything. You can use cooking spray. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the pan. This has worked out perfect timing because my husband is actually pulling into our driveway right now. So this will give me time to get this in the oven and let it cook. And then I'll get Willow fed and we'll make the frosting recipe and then I will show that. And by then maybe the cake will have cooled enough we can just immediately top it. So now it's time to clean the kitchen up and feed the baby. Oh, I should also probably mention our soap, we're gonna eat soap. Our soup is on the burner right now and I've got it on about low heat, just letting it simmer. It'll probably simmer for about another 45 minutes or so and then be good to go. Are you serious?
You been looking for it?
They told me they delivered it and I looked on the porch and I was like, of course, but one time I'm going to get a package that's in the mailbox. No, that would have been the good thing to do. Huh?
So now that the cake is cooled, we're just going to get started on the brown butter cinnamon glaze. And this is 4 tablespoons of butter that I've put in my skillet and started on medium heat. And this is what our bundt cake looks like cooled out of the oven and on my little vintage cake dish. It's so cute. It's a little bit short, but it's fine because pumpkin's just dense. And then I've got my recipe card ready to go and my bowl with powdered sugar. So as I stated earlier, it's important not to walk away from this butter because it does scorch really fast as the milk fats separate from the oil. So I'm constantly stirring this until it reaches a slight simmer. And then once you are hearing that sizzle and seeing that it's simmering, you want to turn your heat off and continue to stir because this is going to continue to cook. And you can make this very dark brown, but that's just too strong of a taste for me. So as soon as we remove the butter from the heat, we're going to immediately pour it into our bowl with our 2 cups of powdered sugar. And then I tried to do this with a spatula at first. Clearly it didn't work well while I was one-handed, but you just grab a whisk and you whisk it until it's very smooth. And then your cinnamon is just optional. Some people don't like cinnamon, but I feel like this really brings out the taste of the cake itself. And this is just a taste, as always. So after you add the dry ingredients, you're then going to add approximately 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk. I kind of just watch this like I do with everything, but the recipe itself calls for, I believe it is 3 tablespoons of milk. So then you're going to whisk this really good until there are no lumps. So clearly I need to wash some dishes, but trying to get this cake iced so we can go ahead and eat. And then I had to taste it to make sure it tasted good, and it did. But y'all let me know if this clip looks kind of delayed to you. On my end, it's kind of looking, I don't know, like it's kind of skipping. Anyways, I did want to just go ahead and say I thought my icing was hot enough, and it really wasn't. So I would recommend, like, even though the butter comes out of the pan, you know, simmering hot, you should probably just go ahead and stick it in the microwave maybe for about 20 seconds or so, because that powdered sugar and cold milk is going to cool the butter down really fast. And this is supposed to actually kind of drip down the cake itself. So I actually did end up heating the bowl. That way I could get a little bit more of that glaze effect. And since I had some of the leftover chopped pecans, I just decided to sprinkle a few of these on top, and you can probably see that most of them are rolling off to the middle, and that is because just as soon as I put this icing on, it hardened. So again, it's very important to make sure that your icing is warm if you want that nice drip effect, and also if you're going to add a topping to it. I did forget to mention that every time I make this soup, I just take some white corn tortillas and I cut them into strips and toss them in a little bit of oil and put them in our air fryer. And we have homemade tortilla chip topping. And y'all, this was so good. We topped it with the tortilla strips and shredded cheese, and then sometimes we also add hot sauce or sour cream, but this is literally one of my favorite things to eat in the cold weather. And of course, the cake was so good, y'all.
That's going to be it for this Fall Food Friday video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment and introduce yourself if you're new. And I'm still eating cake. Let me know if you try these recipes and if you like them. I am so in love with this pumpkin cake. I have never made it this way before. I actually just came up with this on my own and it came out so good. But I've got my food sitting here waiting to go. And my husband's got to come get his food. So we're going to sit down and eat this. And then I've got to clean up the kitchen I only have to clean. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in maybe Sunday-ish or so. I will actually have another vlog up. and it will be my bathroom or my master bedroom and guest bathroom decorate with me. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to get alerts for that. And thank you for watching. Bye, y'all.
Let's see. I don't like tomatoes or rice or mayonnaise.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
We're getting kind of a late start with this because my daughter didn't go down, but did